I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the November 1st, 2023 Fitchburg Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has 7 members. Members are citizens residing in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. The Commission is appointed by the City Council and serves the city on a volunteer basis. The Commission collaborates with the residents, businesses, and organizations to facilitate compliance with the 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Fitchburg Wetlands Bylaw. Meetings of this Commission are subject to and abide by the open meeting law. If you would like more information about any of these regulations, feel free to ask a commissioner, our agent, or the environmental consultant. Thank you for your commitment to the conservation of our natural resources. Thank you for your patience as we navigate this hybrid meeting. The Commission requests that folks wishing to speak approach the podium and speak clearly into the microphone. And remote attendees maintain microphones on mute for privacy. If you would like to speak, please use the chat or raise your hand function to alert the chair of your intention. Be advised the public meeting is being live streamed and recorded by FATV. If a member of the in-person audience is recording this meeting, this is your opportunity to identify yourself for the public record. Hearing none, we'll move on with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to call the roll. Commissioner Baker.
Here.
Commissioner Christian.
Here.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Here.
Commissioner Helene. Commissioner Jacobs.
Here.
Commissioner Tantinarwat.
Here.
And Commissioner Satterfield in attendance. Okay. Let's see. Moving forward. Oh, do we have any? We have some announcements. Any announcements? I actually have an announcement. Do you have anything that's going on in the city?
Pertaining, no.
Okay. Any announcements from the commission? I had an announcement that I wanted to make. I recently watched the story of the American buffalo on public television, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend anybody watch the show about the American buffalo on PBS, and it was free to stream. But fascinating. And since we're all here because we appreciate the conservation of our natural resources, that is definitely a great story to remember what happened with the buffalo and how they're bringing them back. And a fascinating show. And so thank you. Thank you. So moving on, we have some public hearings that we want to open. If, let's see, where's the gentleman from Monty Tech? There you are. Would you mind if we went with Oak Hill first, if we went a little out of order so we can get everybody out of here? Or would you prefer that we have you go?
I think either way is fine.
Okay, thank you. So that being said, I'm going to open the hearing for Oak Hill Country Club Solar LLC. Before I do that, I want everyone to understand we are waiting for the third-party review. It's in process, and at that first meeting, you may recall that I said everything we do takes way longer than anyone expects it to, and so we are still waiting. If you are here to make a comment, I would ask that you be brief. And if you've already made comments and they're in the public record, I would ask that you allow your fellow citizens to add a new comment to the record. It's been clear how you feel. It's been made clear. I also want to remind everyone that your comments need to be related to water quantity and water quality, and anything else that falls under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. We appreciate your concern for the natural resources, but we do have rules that we have to follow as well. So here we are.
I just want to state that on behalf of the applicant, they did request a continuation to the December 6th meeting.
So that being said, it's at the discretion of the chair to allow the public comment. So I am going to ask once again that you keep your comments brief. We don't have any new information. Okay, that's where we are. So I don't want to deny anyone the option to speak, but I do want to remind you we have no new information at all. But if you have not been in front of us to make a comment related to the Oak Hill Country Club, I would ask that you just keep your comments brief. So that being said, under Massachusetts general law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Oak Hill Country Club Solar LLC, Oak Hill Country Club Shea Street. Do we have, there's no DEP file number for this?
No.
Okay. And we have not received the third-party review information at this time.
No, we are waiting escrow.
Okay. So we don't have anyone here from the engineering firm to speak on this because they've asked for a continuation. Is there any comments from the commission? Hearing none, I will ask if you'd raise your hand if you are a member of the public and you would like to make a comment. And once again, I would ask that you be brief out of respect for the people who haven't had a chance to comment. And I would ask that you remember to keep it associated with what is within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Yes, sir. Please come up to the podium.
Hello, folks. My name is David Normandin. I live at 149 Pepper Road in Fitchburg. First of all, I'd like to thank you folks for volunteering your time. And I am against this project. I've been there for 8 years, and I've seen the highs and lows of that water, and that's with all those trees. So I am against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Normandin. We appreciate that. Yes.
My name is Jean Robbie. I live on Water Street. I would like to recommend that be something that needs to be placed on the ballot so the citizens of Fitchburg have the opportunity to have full detail on it and the opportunity to vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robbie. And I'm going to remind everyone that we want to make sure we are staying within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission out of respect for everyone who's taken the time to come here tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Mary Jean, 499 Electric Ave. I'd like to speak tonight against all the effect to the birds and the bees and everything else that lives up there. Has anybody thought about that? We haven't done any surveys, or we haven't looked at any of the creatures that are living up there. Does anybody know if there's a special species up there that we maybe got to look at? Have any of you taken any personal interest in looking at this? I will leave it at this. How many of you have seen this many of my fellow residents from Fitchburg here to complain about something? Please pay attention. Please listen to us. It's not a good fit for this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jean. Yes, please.
Scott Hustis, 74 Autumn Drive. I have actually a question upon this third party that they have doing this investigation. If I read correctly, they are supplying the third party? They have hired the third party?
I can answer that.
At Oak Hill?
No, that's incorrect. The third party was selected by me, the conservation agent, and they have to pay for it.
Okay, then I am all set. But at first, I thought it was saying that they had selected the third party. I was like, isn't that a conflict of interest? Thank you.
That's what we're trying to avoid here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carrie Monk. I'm on Lee Ave in Fitchburg, and
Can you
I
repeat
do have
that,
one.
please?
Sorry.
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Carrie Monk, Lee Ave. I have a question about the third-party review. Is that going to take place after they submit their new plans, or is it going to take place prior to?
It's going to take place now. The delineation of the wetlands of the whole area will take place before they submit new plans.
So how would I guess my next follow-up question would be to that, is how would they be able to determine if their remediation is going to work or not, if the plans aren't in place or submitted at that time?
I think because the wetlands are permanent, so once they stake out the wetlands, it doesn't matter if their plans change, the wetlands will stay the same.
But the remediation could change.
Correct.
So how are they reviewing the remediation if the plans aren't submitted to the city?
That's what comes after we have the peer review.
But
I don't know if,
I don't understand what, I could, perhaps you can help
somebody-
us understand
Ralph is- yeah,
what the
Ralph is
third-party
there.
review is going to look at if
Could
they're
I-
not looking at remediation and what they're going to do to prevent stormwater or sediment.
Perhaps I could help explain. The third-party review is merely to look at the wetlands delineation, because a few of the commissioners, including myself, felt uncomfortable with the way it was delineated. The scope of the third-party review has nothing to do with remediation or what might follow. It's just to help inform everyone of where the wetlands are relative to the proposal.
And then, so you'll make a decision off of that, or are you going to make a decision once the plans are in so you know how many trees are going to cut within that area? Because the intent is with the cut, right? How many trees they're cutting within that area?
Perhaps you misunderstand our
Okay.
jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction extends to the wetlands that are present in the proposed area. And you should be talking to the planning board, not us, when it comes to other areas of the proposal.
I'm only referencing the intent, which states that they're going to cut within the 100-foot buffer zone, which is under your jurisdiction, from what I
So
understand.
that's what we're focused on.
Right, so they would have to do remediation, make sure that no sediment's getting into that's where,
Carrie, if I can, Madam Chair, if I may, all we're concentrating on right now is verifying the mapping of the wetlands, okay? Remediation is sort of like the after effect and how it's going to be dealt with, so it's one step at a time. Let's everyone agree on the mapped area that is in our jurisdiction, then we can talk about where the plan falls within that jurisdiction. So for right now, all we're talking about is creating a map that everybody agrees on.
the wetland. Okay, that was helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I add a comment?
Yes.
And also, I'd like to add to Carrie that the Wetlands Protection Act does not say that we cannot allow work in the buffer zone. So there might not be a need for remediation if the work is allowable.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to add a comment or has a question? And I want to also remind you that Herlin is available to answer your calls or your emails at the city all the time. Yes, please. State your name and address, please.
Yes, I'm Jessica Jacobson, 33 Crescent Heights. Is there going to be open comment on other topics, or is it just this one? So if we have concerns about another topic, now would be the time?
We're talking about Oak Hill Country Club solar project right now.
Right, so will public comment be open to the other project on here? The preserving farmland in Fitchburg, because
That
that's
is not a
also,
public hearing.
but it's on the agenda.
It is. It's not a public hearing, it's a presentation.
Okay, well, can we make public comments on that?
It's, the public comment section comes when a hearing is opened for this commission. It's clearly stated in the Wetlands Protection Act and how everything is set up.
Okay, well, there's a lot of Ward 3 residents here that should be also concerned with that project.
And I think that you would be best served by meeting with the Agricultural Commission and this.
We have, and they didn't answer any of our questions.
So it falls under their jurisdiction.
Okay.
Once again, the only
But they're
thing
bringing
that
it up
falls-
to you and it's on your agenda.
Yes. We are here to deal with wetlands, water quality, and water quantity, okay?
And there's a lot of water issues with that particular project too.
Ma'am, we are here to talk about Oak Hill Country Club right now. So if you don't have
Okay.
any comments about that, I'm
All right,
gonna
and
ask
your
you-
jurisdiction should also cover what citizens want. And there's a lot of people being represented here, so that should also be concerned regarding the projects put forth. So please consider
Thank you
public.
for your comments. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment, a new comment about Oak Hill Country Club? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to continue this hearing to the December 6th meeting?
So moved.
Second?
In a second, I'm going to call the roll. Let's see. Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Commissioner Tantanarwat.
Aye.
So moved. That will be moved on to the December 6th meeting. And now, thank you very much. If you would like to go, we'll give you a chance to go so that we can let the gentleman from Monty Tech speak.
Who seconded that motion?
Is it Donnelly? Joyce. Oh, Joyce. Thank you.
Yes? We're still in the meeting.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
It's a.
Excuse me, but we're in the middle of it.
I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it.
I just think.
Sorry, but really?
Yeah, they just, all they wanted was just cards.
Oh, okay.
There, this public input all at the beginning. Yeah, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Commissioner Baker just reminded me that conservation commissions are not, do not run the same way that the city council meetings run. And so in a city council meeting, there is time for public comment in the beginning, but in a conservation commission meeting, we have different rules and regulations that we follow. And I'd like to thank Dr. Baker for bringing that to our attention. And I'd like to remind everyone that that's the case. And so moving on. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for request for determination of applicability at Monty Tech School, 271 Westminster Street. And this is, we have, speaking to the RDA.
Randy Myron with Bowler. Randy Myron with Bowler.
Thank you, Mr. Myron. Go ahead. Can you please talk about?
Sure. Yep. I mean, I don't have much else to add than what we talked about last time. I know that I think the hang-up was notifying the abutters for the RDA. We have done that. But the project remains the same as it was previously when we discussed it with you folks last month. It continues to be, it's a satellite school for Monty Tech. It's mainly a building renovation project with some minor parking improvements, restriping and repaving of the parking lot, adding some curbing to help help with traffic flow based on some comments and concerns from the planning board as well as DPW. We did receive planning board approval. The project, as you know, it's adjacent to the Whitman River. We're within the 200-foot riverfront area, as well as we're also within the floodplain. But the grades are remaining the same. There's no changes to any of the elevations on the site. And that's it. I mean, it should be a big improvement to the property. There's some landscaping being added. There's erosion and sediment control measures being added to prevent any silt or sediment from being transported off-site. So it should be, when the project is complete, it should be a big benefit and aesthetically look a lot nicer than what it does today. And that's it. I'll open it up. If there's any questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. Yes.
Looking for confirmation before I make or repeat my motion. All of the abutters had been contacted?
Yes.
Yeah, we determined whether it was the Whitman River or the Nashua River?
Oh, it is the Whitman River. The intersection is about a quarter of a mile to the east.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I take exception to that. I checked the topo maps, and I believe that Whitman River ends at the place where Flag Brook enters, which is up at the former Central Steam Plant. Where those two streams converge, that's the beginning of the North Nashua River. And this is the North Nashua River.
Okay. I mean, all the maps and the survey that we have, it shows it as the Whitman River. Regardless,
it's not a big deal. I think that it is the North Nashua River there.
It's a river and has a 200-foot riverfront area associated with it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll settle this outside. I'll repeat my motion to accept the plan as submitted.
I only have one question, Mike, if I can. The parking lot to the west side, I know the parking lot on the east side, the planning has got you doing a lot of the curbing and the landscaping and that there. But the one on the west side, what are you doing there? Because that is where there's a lot of drainage. Is that going to be just recapped or repaved or just an update?
I think in the long term, it is going to be eventually repaved and restriped. But we're also there is some new curbing being added to help define. It's kind of just wide open curb cuts where traffic can just kind of flow in and out. So we're helping to define those traffic movements a little bit better. So there is some curbing being added. And there's some landscaping being added.
But no new drainage? You're going to operate with the drainage and the culverts that are there? Because there's the one that comes off the road at the top end of the street that's kind of funky that sits up there, and then there's two down at the bottom at the lower levels where the loading docks used to be. You're going to work within that frame?
That's correct. Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Floyd Morrison with Monty Tech. We've had conversations with Nick Erickson out there. Obviously, City of Fitchburg Planning Board requires 36-foot maximum entries. So there's curbing that's going to be on our docket to shrink those down. And there's also some curbing up on Temple Street that's in disrepair that Mr. Erickson, I think, is going to get into his rotation of stuff that doesn't really affect what we're doing but gets cleaned up, and it'll help the water flow back to the drains. But the back parking lot contours cannot be changed per flood zone, I believe. So
right.
It is on our agenda to repave that parking lot. And the way this summer's been with the water, it's really fallen into a lot more disrepair. So that is got to get done. So, okay. And it is part of our requirement of the lease to do that. So, so that's going to get cleaned up, but nothing changed topography-wise. It has to stay the way it is.
Okay.
Other than we're adding the entrance, the second egress to the building there.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And that's all on piers.
Okay. Yep, I see that.
Commissioner
all right. Thank you.
My excuse, my apologies for not having been present at the last meeting, but I did read the submittal. It seems like the parking lot that is closest towards downtown might benefit by something like a biotreatment swale, or there's a little grass strip just between that line of parking spaces and the road and the river, that would be a perfect place to have a slightly depressed biotreatment swale instead of a typical raised green patch. That way, any sediment coming off of that parking lot would be captured in that and have an opportunity to be treated. Did you consider that?
So we were asked by DPW as well as the planning board to add curbing there to really, because currently it's just a wide open curb cut. I don't know how wide, it must be 100 feet wide. So we were asked to kind of define that area by adding some curbing. So we're adding some curbing, and I think we're proposing just some stone like in between that as part of that landscaped island. So I think that there's going to be a slight reduction in impervious surface when you look at what's out there today, so that we will be adding some landscaping. But I don't know if it'd really be a great location for like a bioretention swale. It'd be so close to the street. I think it would just I think it'd be difficult to maintain in that location.
A moment ago, you said reduction in pervious surface. Did you mean impervious surface?
Impervious, sorry, yes.
Okay.
Correct. A reduction in pavement.
I see.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Commissioner Erickson.
Thank you very much. For the record, Nick Erickson, Commissioner of Public Works, City of Fitchburg. I just wanted to comment on that stretch of that parking lot specifically. We've got an issue with the warehouse across the street from this proposed project site, 291 Westminster Street. For vehicles headed inbound or eastbound that are turning into that facility at 291 Westminster Street, particularly large tractor trailer trucks that come that route frequently to enter that facility, because of a utility pole that's located right next to their driveway entrance, they're forced to actually cross the double yellow center line and utilize the parking lot that we're discussing right now and that frontage along that parking lot to perform a button hook turn to enter that facility at 291. So if we were to put any sort of a bioretention swale or even like a riprap type swale, it would present an issue for tractor trailer trucks that are trying to execute that turn into the facility at 291 Westminster Street. That being said, we're trying to work with Mass DOT right now, who's going to be repaving that section of roadway to potentially relocate that utility pole. But I still need to flush out those ideas with Mass DOT, and I have no commitment from them beyond repaving the road right now. So that all still remains to be figured out over the next several weeks. But I just wanted to offer that up. And I believe the applicant has an easement for 291 Westminster Street specifically to allow those tractor trailers to make that maneuver into the facility. And that's recorded into the deed of the property. So it definitely presents a challenge with installing any sort of a BMP, curb, berm, anything along that frontage there. And I think what the applicant has proposed is mountable granite curbing just for the purpose of allowing tractor trailer trucks to make that turn.
Okay, in that case, I withdraw my suggestion.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, do we have, yes.
Madam Chair, just so for the record, I'd like to detail what we're actually proposing a motion on for tonight on this project. That being the street address is 270 Westminster Street. Parcel number is S5410, and the plan that we're reviewing is revision 3, dated 9/22/2003. And we can proceed to a motion.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. Do we have, and that Joyce has reiterated, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Thank you, Dr. Baker. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner, do we have, so we have the conditions all set in place, everybody's good? With
Well, this is an RDA.
I know, but
yeah.
I mean, we've worked this out and everything's good. I wasn't here last week, I had to go.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the plan is detailed, we're comfortable with
Okay,
that.
thank you. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantin-Arwat?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield? Aye. The motion passes. And I want to thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
So, then there's no one here from the Normandin Group?
They have requested a continuance.
Okay. So I'm going to open the meeting, and we're going to need a motion to continue. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, the Normandin Group, LLC, construction of single-family home, 39 Will Thompson Way, continued. Do we have a...
Before we continue, Herlin, do we have a date yet, either Saturday or Sunday?
It'll be Sunday. I just have to send out the calendar invite.
Okay, so we're
Sunday
going to
at
do a
10
site
a.m.
walk on Sunday.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
So, motion to continue after the site walk and further information is gathered to December 6th meeting, 2023.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
All in favor? Okay. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner, did Donnelly recuse himself for this?
No, he's coming back, I think.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantin-Arwat?
Aye.
1, 2. And Commissioner Sarfield votes in favor, and the motion passes, and we'll move on from there. Did I do that right? Yeah, I did that right. Okay. Okay. The same with the next one. Did we request, was a continuance requested? Or is someone
No.
here from Ridemore?
Yeah, Ridemore.
Oh, okay. Okay, right, okay.
I see
Oh, hi, hello, let me open this. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Ridemore Heavy Truck Parts, Incorporated, concrete pad, 150 Benson Street. And welcome.
Thank you.
Speaking to the notice of intent, how they will meet the performance standards for this project, we have
Good evening. Patrick McCarty, McCarty Engineering, here on behalf of Ridemore Heavy Trucks, 150 Benson Street. This project was in Tim, the applicant's mind, to address once we resolved everything relative to the stabilization, and thankful that we were able to get that certificate of compliance closed out at the last hearing for that portion of the project. So the plan before you this evening is this riprap that you can see right here on the corner. That's where that stabilization started and continued this way along the bank. So this is that kind of canopy structure. These are the concrete blocks that were moved back, and this is now where that drainage swale and lumen seed is. And so above that, that concrete block wall continues existing all the way up to like one of those plastic sprung structures. And this area right here is where Ridemore would take all the trucks after they strip the good parts off of them, motors, transmissions, all the usable stuff. They would process the remaining pieces as scrap metal. That portion of the site was just regrind pavement, so you can imagine that over time, as you have an excavator kind of pulling trucks and parts apart, that regrind isn't very effective work surface, and stuff, would get pushed into the ground. And so to make a cleaner operation, both for processing of the scrap, so you don't get all the dirt commingled in it, and also cleaner environmentally, we're simply proposing to remove the regrinds and put a 12-inch thick reinforced concrete slab in its place to allow for better processing of the scrap metal. It is partially within the 100-foot, so this is the river, the perennial stream. the 100-foot riparian zone and the 200-foot. So this portion here is within the 100, and this portion here is within the 200. It's all previously degraded. It's all compacted reground, like pavement millings. So there's no change in impervious. It's just really, the end result is to hopefully have a cleaner operation for processing of the scrap metal that's gone on the site historically for many of years. So pretty straightforward in my mind, but certainly happy to answer any questions from the commission.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing.
Okay.
Obviously, we understand that no action can be taken this evening because DEP has yet to issue a file number. I did check about 5 o'clock today.
Thank you. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing or would like to request more information? Please, is there anyone here to talk about Ridemore heavy-duty truck? Okay, hearing none from the public, let's turn to the commission. Do we have any commissioners with questions or comments for Mr. McCarty? Would we like to do to schedule a site visit? Are there any thoughts from the commission? Yes, Joyce.
I'll start. I have some questions then, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. Couple of things. The NOI said stormwater report attached, but that wasn't in our packet. Did that come in with?
Oh, no, I think in our cover letter, we stated that we weren't proposing any stormwater controls because it's compacted pavement millings now to concrete. So the runoff, if we tried to run that in our stormwater model, it would tell us you don't need to do anything because it would be the same runoff from one to the other. So potentially he checked the box that said we were providing it, but the intention was not to do any because it's a net to net, no change in impervious.
Okay, so Mr. Erickson and Mr. Hillman, is that acceptable on your end?
I would agree with that. When you're modeling stormwater runoff like that, you go by curve number, and compacted asphalt grindings have approximately the same curve number as asphalt.
Okay, perfect. Just checking. What is going to be done with the material, Patrick, that's coming out of there as you take that down to put the concrete in? Some of that material that's there now has got to be excavated, right?
Yeah.
That's going where?
Off-site.
Okay, so that's going to be
not near the
removed.
resource area, yes.
Anywhere, okay.
Yes.
Good. And this again is a question also for Mr. Erickson and Mr. Hillman. The slope of 1% to drain on the concrete pad, again, is that a number that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, that's a reasonable number. I mean, it's tough to build stuff to that 1% slope with the exception of asphalt and concrete. But as long as you have 1%, that's a decent amount of slope to get it to drain properly.
Okay, I'm all set. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to continue this hearing to the December meeting?
Just one question.
I'm sorry?
Just a question.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is this a change of use?
No. This is a continuation of historic use. We're just trying to do it in a more friendly way for both the underlying soil and the scrap metal being produced.
Okay.
Motion to continue to the December 6th meeting?
Second.
Thank you. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarot?
Aye.
And Commissioner Chairfield? Aye. So the motion passes.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. We'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Do they want me to schedule a sidewalk?
Do you want a site walk? Nobody said anything about a site walk. Okay. Okay. No. Okay.
Hi, Mark, thank you. Sure, thank you, appreciate it. You guys have these, but I'll pass them on just to.
So, under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission opened the hearing for notice of intent, City of Leominster water main replacement, cross-country main. Speaking to the notice of intent, Mr. Piermarini,
Yeah.
can you explain to the commission how you'll be meeting the performance standards for this project?
Well, the project is just a remove and replace of an existing water main that runs through from Battle Street in Leominster all the way up to North Leominster. Goes through the north end of the airport, but it runs under Nashua River and Baker Brook. Goes under AKS Recycling, and that's one reason why we want to replace it right now. Then goes under Crawford Street and under the railroad tracks up to North Street in Leominster. The pipe's from 1933, and we've had breaks before. We were actually here 2.5 years ago for an emergency certification. We had a break in between the two rivers, so we did replace a section in there. And then about 1.5 years ago, we did a section on Battle Street, from Battle Street up to the Nashua River. So we basically want to finish complete. In between the two rivers, there's a little section left, and then on the other side of Baker Brook to go around AKS Recycling. The problem is we have a break under AKS Recycling, and it's like 15 feet deep. It's underneath their fill, which was put in after our pipe was in, the fill was there. And so we want to try and move it out to the outer edge of their fill, so get out from under their fill and then replace it and come around in a little different location than what it is now. So we're out from under the fill. So it's just going to move and replace, be similar to what we did over at the end of Battle Street. So any disturbance is temporary. It's just going to be, we'll end up just reseeding after we're done with the wetland mix, like we did over again on the other side of the two rivers.
Madam Chair, for the record, this project also has not had a DEP number yet assigned.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Hearing none from the public, the chair would move to the commission. Commissioner Donnelly.
2 questions and a comment. What was the score of the Thanksgiving Day game last year? You don't, and who won? That's not a question. That's the same question.
I think Fitchburg won last year, if I'm not mistaken.
You're mistaken.
I am mistaken.
Secondly, the land that, the question, the land that the easement is on, while it's City of Fitchburg land, who's the private property owner? You said, did I hear you say the?
Yeah, it's the airport. It's the only piece that the commission owns, the only piece that's in between the two rivers.
The Conservation Commission?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so we're the private property owner.
Yeah, and then we go through the airport. AKS Recycling is on airport property, and then through Wheeler Brader, and then onto Blueberry Hill Lane.
And do you know if any of the, this is the same question, if any of the damage to the pipe was within Conservation Commission land, but as the result of AKS Metals activity?
I can't tell you why it broke. It's underneath the AKS fill, so I mean, I don't know why it broke. We haven't dug down to.
That's a challenge to the Conscom. AKS is currently using Conservation Commission land to perform their money-making operation. There's a problem with that, and the Conservation Commission has never addressed it. And then my last comment. You're looking for our approval, and I suspect we're happy to give it. You made reference to Battle Street on the other side of the Nashua River and adjacent to Ridemore construction. This Conservation Commission wasn't at all impressed at how you closed shop on that side of the Nashua River. You care to address any of the finishing touches that you put on restoration and/or eliminating erosion or whatever with the work that you did on the other side of the Nashua?
I thought after we finished, we seeded it, and the seed actually came up pretty well, in my opinion, but it's
I'm going to blame it was the runoff on Battles Road. Nevertheless, there was no, I don't know what to say. It was.
We'd be glad to come back out and if you have any issue, and
Isn't
fix
that
it.
nice? And more often than not, all you have to do is ask and get, and that offer came without even an ask. We ought to take a look at that because, we've been out there with the last applicant on a couple of occasions, and there was more work to be done. I suspect it was runoff of Battles Road. Nevertheless, it was adjacent to and in conjunction with your disturbance.
That's fine.
Thanks.
I mean, we'd be happy to address it.
2 out of 3, I'll take them.
Well, to that end, I would like to ask if you ever completed the work at the other end by the recycling, it's like a repo lot, the repo lot on Airport Road, where that other break was when you went in. And I wanna know,
yes, I'm sorry.
Did you complete that? Because it looked a
that
little
was-
shaggy when we saw it. Did we go and see that? That was years ago.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
And now she's speaking to the northerly side
Break,
of Nashua,
yeah.
not the other side, the westerly side, if you will. Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you recall?
It was in pretty good shape. I think it took time.
To grow, yeah.
We could walk in there and find out ourselves as well. That was in far better shape than the Battles Road.
Yeah. At the same time, we can also thank the Leominster DPW because you did provide access for the canoe port, the watercraft portage there, right? That's where that is.
Yes, no problem. I know we had talked about that at that time.
Okay. We don't have the file number, so can I have a motion to continue to the December 6th meeting?
So moved.
Okay, in a second.
What are we getting out of the continuance?
We don't have a file number.
No file number.
That's it?
Yeah, we can't
Shame on
close
you.
the hearing until a file number's been issued.
Second that motion.
Okay. Let's see here, where am I? Please, okay, so I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. So the motion passes. We'll see you next month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to me, if you want me to go back to fix any of those areas. It's fine.
Mark, you still have an item on the agenda.
Yeah, the certificate of compliance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that next or is that?
We can take it next, if we can take it out of order. I mean, out of respect for...
I was going to wait over there, but...
Where is it? Here. If anyone minds, we can take it... Okay. Let's go to the certificate of compliance review, Leominster DPW water main on Battle Street. Thank you for your generosity to allow this man to get home. Is there any comments about the certificate of compliance? Yes. Joyce? Joyce and I were at the site.
Yeah, we went out last Friday. Commissioner Donnelly is right. It's not the best-looking job that's there, but it's there. So I still wouldn't hold up the certificate of compliance for that, but if you're out there and you can relook at that and see if it needs some reseeding or some cleaning up, that would be great.
Yeah, we will.
But it's acceptable for the compliance. So, motion to issue the certificate of compliance if there are no other questions?
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Aye.
And Commissioner Sarahfield, aye. The motion passes. We'll get this signed
All
for
right.
you.
Thank you.
You have to sign it, or?
When I go reseed, I assume I'll probably just wait until spring. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
think it's-
because now it's going to be too late.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. So let's head to other business. Doing all right.
Yeah, I will.
We've got an update from the Mad River Solar Site.
I will step away.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Jacobs recusing themselves. Do we have update on Mad River Solar?
A continuance was requested. They're meeting with a few of department heads tomorrow because they're submitting new plans.
Okay. Can we have a motion to continue? I guess.
So moved.
Motion to continue.
No, it's an update.
Okay, I guess we don't need a motion, it's an update.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Wallace Civic Center?
So there are two parts to Wallace Civic Center. The skating rink ice shaving part is all said and done, and we can close that out. And then the second part was some new illegal dumping that was happened last week, where 355-gallon drums of some sort of transmission oil was being dumped into is it a brook? Is it the brook? Am I correct?
Falula Brook.
Falula Brook.
Yeah, the Falula Brook. We're waiting for the police report so that then we can address the person who was doing the illegal dumping.
Just, can we stay on that and see to it to conclusion?
Yes.
Okay, 46 Sheldon Road?
There hasn't been any update on that.
But Mr. Nunez contacted you, and he
Correct.
said they're still in the process of transferring the deed, and he fully intends to assume ownership of the property and remediate the violation.
Correct.
Okay. 71 Wachusett Street?
Certified mail letter was sent to the property owner. Remediation needs to happen as they need to rebuild that lot. I don't know if you guys remember, it was a pool deck or a garage-like structure that got washed away, but I haven't heard anything from that. I do know that the homeowner has...
There's a trustee.
There's a trustee.
Yeah, and that has the power of attorney for her. So the owner of the property, Miss Little, does not control the property currently. There is a trustee and a power of attorney that is where that, so that kind of adds to the complication of the problem. For right now, what's been remediated under the emergency order looks good. But if they intend to do anything else or replace the garage or fix the driveway, then they will need to contact Conservation Commission to get authority to do that.
I think we received notice from the building commissioner that they have to, it's a public safety hazard.
Then they have to
So
fix
they
it.
have to. And the letter was sent September 14th. So I can definitely send another notice.
Did you get a green card back saying
I did.
that they received it?
Okay.
So they just haven't replied.
Correct.
So I would send a second notice.
Okay.
And the building commissioner is a receipt of that same request.
Yes.
So he's aware.
Yes.
He won't act without recognizing our interest.
Yes, we went on a site walk together with him.
In writing, right?
In writing.
On their, it'll be in their file, on the building commissioner's file.
Yes, it's on OpenGov, which is the public portal for accessing property information.
Okay,
So it's on the property.
thank you.
Okay. Moving forward to violation notice and enforcement orders. 691 Mount. Okay, yes. I'm sorry, can you, if you want to have a conversation in the, could you please go out in the hall? There's just a lot of feedback from it, and it's making it hard for me to understand what's going on. Thank you. 691 Mount Elam Road. Hi, Mr. Kubwa. So as an update, we did receive a report from the wetland scientist. Do you want to talk about it? No. Mr. Kubwa, would you like to speak to the report?
No, I would like to know to hear what you guys would have. You guys already read the report.
Madam Chair, I think I can address that. Mr. Kuba, thank you very much for having the wetlands delineated. And now that you've seen the map that she has drawn out, that we are concerned about the wetlands that are on your property. So our next step would be that we would request a site visit so that we would all be there, you're included, and then we can talk about if there's anything needs to be remediated, what might that remediation look like, so that we can get a better feel for the part of the property that has been amended.
Sure, I am available whenever you guys want to do a site visit. Just let me know when, and I'll be happy to. I have a question. I read the report, which the scientist seems to read the law, I guess, online. She mentioned a 20-foot buffer zone. Is that what it is?
Well, no, it's actually, it's a little bit of everything. When you look at, basically, it's the last page almost that she created, that there are different levels on the map, where she's got your plot plan, the map, okay, which I think you have in front of you.
Yeah, it's a small one.
So there is definitely a 20-foot no disturb, so nothing can happen within that 20-foot, okay? Then there's a 25-foot buffer that we have, and then there's the 100-foot buffer. And the 100-foot is well within your property. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do anything within that 100-foot. It's just that you have to get authorization from us to work in that 100-foot.
Yes. For any work that have been done, I would like to apologize for being any foot in the buffer zone. I would like also to apologize for doing any work that needed permission. Like you said, there is a 100-foot buffer zone, and that delineation seems in the middle of my property, which makes the entire property in the buffer zone, including the house, including everything.
Right. So that's why we're saying, that doesn't mean that you can't do anything within that 100-foot. It just needs to be that you need authorization to do anything.
I apologize for doing any of that.
So that's what we'd like to go out and see now. Let's see, and then you can explain what you've done and why. Convince us why you did what was amended there.
Many times conservation agents have been on the property, and other city officials. We'll do another one after those stakes have been, those flags have been laid down, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Is there something that we want to schedule now while we're all here?
I can reach out to Mr. Kuba. We have open lines of communication, and then we can schedule something so that everybody can meet.
Yes, sir. You guys have my email and my phone number, so.
All right.
He said that he was amenable to any time we chose. We're here to choose a time.
Okay,
he's more open than getting 7 other people open. I think we should choose it now.
Let's choose a time. Mr. Kubo, what is, taking into consideration that the sun sets a little earlier these days.
And it's going to even more after Saturday.
Yeah. Is there usually we look at a Saturday or a Sunday? Yes.
Could you address the conscom? We're harder to please than him. He
Okay.
opened
I live at the property, so anytime you guys would like to come over, you pick your own time and I'll be there. Most of the time I'm on my property.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Yes.
There's a site walk scheduled already for Sunday. Would anybody be willing to meet after that one?
Yes.
I could. But we don't know what time.
10 a.m.
Okay, so 10 a.m. So maybe we could do Mr. Cooper at 11,
Yes.
This upcoming Sunday?
this coming Sunday.
11 a.m. approximately.
11 a.m. approximately, yeah. We're going to be in another site walk before yours, but I think we could be there for, let's say, between 11 and 11:15.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay?
Okay.
That works? That works for everybody?
If you can be there, you can be there. If you can't be there, that's okay. We'll have some people there.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we'll see you Sunday at between 11 and 11:15, 11:30 the latest, but we'll be there Sunday morning. And thank you again for your cooperation.
Yes, thank you for coming, Mr. Kuba. It's nice to see you again. Okay. 170 Arnhow Farm Road.
Yeah, there's an update. This applicant is meeting with the city solicitor, and I haven't heard back from Attorney Piscateri yet, so we'll continue it to December.
All right. And then 86 Farmer Avenue.
There was a violation on this property, and I was in open communication with the property owner, and he is working on remediation. He has received a quote from a remediation specialist, and he is looking to obtain a second quote, but will be present at the December 6th meeting to provide a plan.
Okay. 182, thank you.
And the fee, there was a fee with the violation that he paid also.
Oh, great. The commission, I commend you on all your wonderful work. Yes. 182 Sheldon Road. Anyone want to talk about 182 Sheldon Road?
Well, I think 182 and 196, they have asked for continuance for both. They did file a notice of intent with a revised plan for 196, but have not provided any information yet on 182. They asked to be moved to the December meeting, and they have been in contact with Herlin. So that line of communication right now is open.
And they also paid their violation.
And they, yes.
Okay, thank you. 0 Ashby State Road, S3-45-0.
Herlin, do you want to?
We just issued, well, do you want to talk about the site walk?
Yeah.
Okay.
We went to look at possible violation at 0 Ashby State Road. There's an old culvert that was there, and it appears that they're doing some logging and some land clearing and stuff, which is not in our jurisdiction, but what is that they filled in over that culvert. So there was fill in a wetlands, clearly a wetland, clearly a perennial stream or brook that's in our jurisdiction. No idea what they're doing with the property, but Herlin was going to notify them of a potential violation and try and make contact.
So on October 23rd, I sent via certified mail a notice of a violation and a fee, and with a request to please be present during this meeting. And as of right now, 7:07, it looks like the property owner is not here.
Okay.
So it would be up to the commission to decide what can be done next.
Well, the owner of the property is in Chelmsford. The mailing address is in Chelmsford. That just went out a week or...
I did receive the green card, so they signed for it.
So they did receive it. My recommendation would be, depending on whatever anybody else wants to do, is I would send them a second notice, labeled a second notice, and for them to appear in December and explain why it was filled in and what was going on, or then we're going to start to issue fines.
Might the commission entertain a fine for failure to meet this meeting to address the violation? Wetlands Protection Act allows for $300 a day. We're not doing a day, but one day, today. They didn't respond, I guess. Didn't respond to the initial violation. That in itself is a dismissal of the violation.
All right, so if that's fine. So then,
I question,
motion to issue a fine for $300 for fill in a wetland that was not conditioned, and see if we can get a response.
that's been done.
Yes,
No.
this would be a motion for failure to appear.
Yeah,
Yeah, failure to appear.
yeah.
And I entertain that if you, to the commission. It's your purview.
So we have a motion on the table for a $300 fine for failure to appear at the meeting. Do we have a second for that motion?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Let's call the roll on that. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tannerwat?
Aye.
And Commissioner Satterfield, aye. So you can send that out. All right. And let's move forward to, we have some certificates of compliance. Is there anyone here from,
Hannigan Engineering.
Hannigan Engineering? They had requested a continuance.
That we haven't heard from them ever, so I don't know what happened. I can reach out again.
Well, yeah, they actually asked for that quite some time ago. We sent them a response that there were a few things that needed to be cleaned up before that certificate could be issued, and we've heard nothing back since. So if you get a chance, Harlan, and you can reach out to them, that probably would be the way to proceed. In the meantime, nothing's been issued.
Okay.
Respectfully, they're asking for the certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
And you suggested that Herlin go to work on their behalf. They're in need of the certificate of compliance. It would seem to me that it would be appropriate for them to pursue it, not for us to pursue them.
I kind of agree on that.
It can languish at no cost to us.
I don't want to put any more.
I'm completely open to whatever you guys would like me to do. I do not mind reaching out. If there was some sort of lag in communication between the transition of the old previous conservation agent and myself, that, I wouldn't mind reaching out.
Thank you.
I would not have a problem if we took at least one opportunity under this board to now reach out to them one time. If they don't respond, then Commissioner Donnelly is right. It's not up to us to chase them for a certificate of compliance. It's up to them. But we will offer one time.
Okay. Let's see, we already managed the Leominster DPW certificate. Let's move on to emergency certifications. We've got the DPW wastewater, Birch Brook, and manhole. And it's, I think they were given an emergency certification.
Correct, it just needs to be ratified today.
Okay. We've got Commissioner Erickson. Is there anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, there was a revised one.
Or, no?
Nick?
I can give a kind of summary of the issue and kind of where we're at right now. So on Monday, we received an odor complaint from a resident on Haywood Street saying they smelled a sewer odor. So our crews went out to investigate. They found a manhole along Birch Brook that was missing bricks out of the side of the wall of the manhole and discharging sewage into the brook. So we immediately notified Mass DEP, EPA, City of Leominster, and the Conservation Commission via Herlin. We also worked with purchasing to submit an emergency waiver to the state to be able to bring in a third-party contractor that isn't currently under contract to try to help us bypass the sewage flows around the failed section of infrastructure. and then begin planning for an emergency repair. So the state granted us the waiver to be able to do that. On Tuesday, Herlin and Joyce, I believe, met out there with the contractor and our sewer system manager and took a look at the issue, kind of came up with a game plan on how best to proceed. And as of today, we have secured a right of entry through 200 Haywood Street to be able to access the failed manhole structure in Birch Brook. And the contractors started to build an access road down into the area. And he's planning to set up his bypass pumps first thing tomorrow morning. You might have gotten it done tonight. I wasn't able to check in prior to hopping on this call. But we expect to have that bypassed by tomorrow morning at the latest. So the sewer shed upstream of this manhole is fairly large. It includes section of South Street, Electric Ave, Ashley Ridge condominiums, Drake and Mallard, which are both private roads that serve condo developments over there. So it's a significant volume of sewage that's being discharged to the brook. So it's very important that we get this buttoned up as quickly as possible. So we're hoping to work on bypassing that flow first, then completing the repair, and then restoring the area after we've completed the repair. So I think our contractor received very clear direction from Herlin and Joyce, and we'll keep the commission updated as the situation progresses.
Thank you, Nick. Can we have a motion to...
Excuse me, I have a question for Nick.
Go ahead.
Has there been any kind of surveying done to see if there are other utilities in the city that might be, I don't know, on the verge of this kind of a catastrophic break?
So the wastewater division regularly performs CCTV inspection of its infrastructure, and its goal is to CCTV inspect the entire city within a 5-year block, and kind of as soon as they finish CCTVing the city, they start over again. And up until this point, we've completed CCTV of almost the entire city over the past 5 years, and we're very close to that point where we restart again. This section of sewer infrastructure along Birch Brook was CCTV inspected not too long ago, and no issue was identified. Now it's tough to figure out exactly what happened because we don't have camera surveillance or anything else out there that would give us a good idea of what caused this type of failure. But just judging by the missing bricks from the manhole and the fact that it appears that the sewer main itself is clogged just downstream of the manhole, we're thinking that the high rains this summer had something to do with it. So it could have been a structure that was in poor condition, and that we had a wall of water that rushed down the brook during the July 16th storm, and perhaps some debris that exacerbated the issue a little bit. So this is definitely a fairly new problem that we're seeing with this particular stretch. But I guess the short answer to your question, Commissioner Baker, is we do have a system in place to inspect all this infrastructure. And following this event, once we get everything buttoned up, I think we'll make it a priority for our sewer collections crew to go re-inspect all of the cross-country easements just to make sure there's no similar issue.
Thank you.
Nick, could you take me by the hand and follow that brook? Could you give me some locations to the Birch Brook?
Sure. So I can't describe the upstream end of it very well, but I can describe that it runs parallel to Haywood Street. It enters into a culvert at Hobson Street, and it stays underground from there all the way down through Haywood, Salem, Birch, and then flows underneath Water Street before it daylights very briefly next to the Citrino Boulevard Bridge, formerly known as Fifth Street Bridge. Then it flows back underground for a short stretch beneath the former Halloween World property. I think it's some sort of flea market or something like that. The old Grossman's facility on Water Street there.
Okay.
And then it pops out into the river just behind that facility.
Thank you. The reason I asked for the Conservation Commission's information. The Conservation Commission denied a applicant for the construction of a home on Albee Street. I suspect that there's a hydrological connection between Birch Brook and that denial on Albee Street. It was appealed to DEP. DEP approved it, and now there's illegal dumping in the backyard because of the slope on the house. So we did something right, I think, in the past, and we were overruled, and this is significant, and it's the same water body, and our attention to that matter was spot on, I suspect. So, not all projects are good projects.
Yeah, there's South Street, here's Haywood, these are where the houses are, there's the gully in the back, and this is the 200 Haywood where they're coming in.
No, I get where we are.
And I do want to add that Mass DEP has asked us to perform some water quality sampling at various points upstream and downstream of this location. So we've come up with a sampling plan to sample the stream upstream of the manhole, at the manhole itself, further downstream near the Fifth Street Bridge, and then right before the stream enters the Nashua. So once we have those samples pulled and the analyses run, we'll be sharing that information with Mass DEP and essentially following their direction as to how they'd like us to proceed, in addition to the direction we received from Herlin and Joyce at the meeting with the contractor, and anything that might precipitate from the meeting tonight, and what we discover as we get into making the actual repairs to the manhole structure and the pipeline downstream.
I have a question, Nick. Do you recall many years ago, over by the Market Basket, we had something similar happen? Do you remember?
We did.
Yeah.
So we had two manholes that are within the Nashua River behind Midtown Beef, essentially, and then over adjacent to First Street and Railroad Street, that intersection there. The manholes sheared off during the winter months when we had a large ice flow, I believe.
Yes.
And river water was getting into the trunk sewer, which connects those manholes, and it was sending millions of gallons of water down to the east wastewater treatment plant, rather. And that was causing massive combined sewer overflows. And you can actually see the repairs that were made today. There's pretty substantial concrete encasing both of those manholes just to make sure that they can withstand the flows of the river, the debris that might wash downstream, and any ice flows that we have during the winter time.
That was an amazing project, how they built that. Thank you. Thank you,
It is.
Commissioner.
I do want to say, too, that the contractor that we called in to work on these repairs is the same contractor that we called a number of years ago when those two manholes behind Midtown Beef sheared off. So we're very confident in their abilities. If anyone can get something like that done, it's these guys.
Yeah, thank you.
There was one thing I'd like to add. So I just wanted to add that there were special conditions. I don't know if anybody got to see the emergency certification order, and I want everybody to know that, be on the same page. So Joyce and I, when we went on the sidewalk, we decided that to notify the both Kenny DuPont and the worker who was there. I think it was Frank Mahoney.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the Conservation Commission and the Conservation Agent must be notified upon completion of construction. Best management practices to include erosion control, silt fencing as needed, timber mats, trees and vegetation to be moved off-site after clearing, and site to be left in clean condition. The certification was given for 30 days, and what I need as the agent is for you guys to extend it to 60. There were some issues that weren't currently present but can't come up, weather, that might delay a little bit of the work that needs to be performed. So I just want to make sure these people have the right amount of time that they need to get everything done correctly.
So, Harlan, do we need to ratify the original emergency order first and then do a motion for this 30-day, the additional 30-day extension?
Yes.
I believe, yes.
Okay. So can we, go ahead.
When you're buying time, is there any, you're doubling the amount, the window. Is there any guarantee that that will be buttoned up within twice the time? Weather is weather is weather. It's New England. And the worst part of the deal is that when you extend it, the damage is done when it's open. And if it's open too long, the damage is done regardless of how little or great much time we give them. So I think if we extend it and give them twice the time, I don't know that helps the situation at all.
But I might just so you know, with the conversation that we had with them actually is they're starting the work now, and they expect to be done in 2 weeks, maybe 3. But that, if there's any extension because of weather or other issues, that's going to put them just up against the 30-day window. So we actually said to them, look, so that we don't have to have an emergency meeting of the Conservation Commission or anything to get them another 30 days. If they do run over, let's just do the order for 60 days. But they fully intend that they're going to be done in 2 to 3 weeks.
And I get it, and I'm not opposed to it. I want to consider a window of performance, a window of start to completion. So that means if they don't start in a week or they don't start in 2 weeks, all well and good. But from start to completion, that window ought to be narrower than expanded. You understand what I'm saying?
I
Not
do.
Not necessarily for this. Give it some thought. I think it's worth considering.
Could that question be deferred to Commissioner Erickson, since he knows the scope of the work that needs to be performed?
I mean, they've already started. I would trust Frank Mahoney's estimate that it's going to be wrapped up within 2 weeks, maybe with a week buffer. So I think they'll get it done in 30 days. I guess the only concern there is it is November. If there's any sort of planting that's required or anything like that to fully restore the site, that's not going to be able to be achieved realistically within that 30-day window. And we'd potentially have to come back for the next meeting to let everyone know what our plans are for next spring to complete that restoration. So tough to say what they'll actually need to finish everything out. I am confident that they'll get the majority of the work done within the next 2 to 3 weeks, as far as bypassing the flows, repairing the manhole, repairing the sewer line, backfilling and compacting everything. It's just that final stabilization that might be the challenge because it's so late in the growing season.
Again, I don't dispute it.
Okay.
But 3 weeks is 3 weeks, it's less than 30 days, and 60 days won't accomplish what Nick said has to be accomplished. So it begs the question, what's the difference between 30 and 60? If it can't be accomplished if it can be accomplished in 3 weeks, or it can't be accomplished until spring. And that's just something to chew on.
And I agree, and I understand your point, but we want to keep them focused on doing the job rather than coming back to us and getting extensions. And it's not, the job is going to be done. I have no qualms about that in a very timely manner. They have to put some temporary access routes into this area, and that is all going to have to be cleaned up. And we're going to be pushing the window of when we could get snowstorms, when we could get, other issues going on. So again, this, this was just giving them time to be able to clean up and remediate that afterwards.
Get it done, 60 days. Yeah.
Okay. So motion to ratify the emergency order that was issued?
So moved.
Okay, let me call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Aye.
Commissioner Serfield? Aye. The motion passes for the emergency order. And then can we have a motion to extend it to 30 days?
So moved.
Okay, in a second. Second. Thank you. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Yep.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Aye.
Commissioner Serfield? Aye. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. And thank you, Harlan, for getting that done quickly so we can get this taken care of. It's catastrophic. So. Okay. On to miscellaneous. Everyone got a copy of the 2024 meeting dates? Can I have a motion and a second to approve the 2024 meeting dates?
Can
Motion to
I
approve.
comment first? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Herlin, do you want to go? No?
Just the July 3rd.
Yep. So as we did, all right, and we have done previously, I would suggest that we change to no meeting scheduled for July, since our meeting would be July 3rd.
Okay.
If there's an emergency project that comes up and we have to find a meeting place and a place to get together, but if not, that will be no meeting in July.
Okay. So can I have a motion to accept this schedule with the note that there will be no meeting in July?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Aye.
Commissioner Serfield, aye. So the motion passes. And this will get posted on the website?
Correct.
Okay.
Filed with the city clerk and posted on the website.
Thank you. And let's see. Next, we've got a presentation from Preserving Farmland in Fitchburg. Can you state your name and your organization?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Barlow. I'm the Secretary of the Agricultural Commission. And I just want to thank you all for the opportunity for us to come and tell you about our farmland conservation project. We hope that you received the materials that we sent ahead of time. There was a letter and some maps. I hope you received those. So as you likely know, there's a number of benefits to preserving a parcel of land in this area of Fitchburg, and Evan will talk more specifics.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Evan Halstead. I'm the chair of the Agricultural Commission. We are here to introduce ourselves and to inform you about our project that we were working on. Thanks. As Jen mentioned, I sent a letter to the commission. If we have time, I'll read this letter tonight.
Go ahead.
Okay, sure. The Fitchburg Agricultural Commission would like to inform the Conservation Commission about our effort to acquire and preserve 47.8 acres of property in northern Fitchburg. We are looking to acquire 0 Sheldon Road as identified on the assessor's map. The parcel runs north-south with Sheldon Road as its northern boundary and McIntyre Road as its southern boundary. Of interest to the Conservation Commission, the acquisition of 0 Sheldon Road will help contribute to the preservation of the North Nashua River watershed. Sheldon Brook is identified in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service National Wetlands Inventory as being in the Nashua Subbasin. Approximately 1,300 feet or a quarter mile of Sheldon Brook flows through the wooded area of the parcel. The brook leaves the property by flowing downhill and terminating at McTaggart's Pond before exiting into Phillips Brook and then the North Nashua River. The area is under intense development pressure and the Ag Commission is looking to establish a 12-acre community farm on the open portions of the site. Much of the site will remain unutilized for agriculture for a combination of reasons, including some steep topography and stipulation of our state land grant, which requires passive recreation opportunities, i.e. hiking trails. The Ag Commission understands that agricultural activity is exempt from the requirements of the local Fitchburg Wetlands Ordinance, but nevertheless, we will strive to maintain best practices with respect to wetland buffer zones along Sheldon Brook. And then I detail some anticipated practices with the forested part of the property, which is not necessarily under your jurisdiction, but it might be of interest. The wooded areas of the property are composed primarily of hardwood trees with some pine. There was a timber harvest around 2008, and the Worcester DCR service forester said that no records of timber management were on file. This indicates to me that long-term timber management was not a priority in the past. In general, there has been a lot of timber cutting in northwest Fitchburg in recent years, and most of the cutting has been clear cutting with little to no consideration for the long-term quality of the land or the ecosystem. We hope to obtain grants through the DCR to have a forest stewardship plan written by a forester and hope to obtain the means to manage the wooded portions of the property for the long-term benefits by employing climate-smart forestry practices. This type of forestry on city-owned property can be a model for local landowners and also students at surrounding teaching institutions for how to better care for wooded acreage. The Agricultural Commission will present our project to the City Council on November 8th, that's next Wednesday. We hope to have some or all of your support at that time to help ensure that this vision can become a reality for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Halstead and Ms. Barlow. Do you have any comments or questions for Mr. Halstead? And you're the chair of the Agricultural
I'm chair,
Commission? Yes. Okay. I have a couple of questions. I'll get started if anybody would like that. In what you just read, you're up here talking about the preservation of the North Nashua River watershed. We're the Conservation Commission, so we work with conserving resources, not preserving them. So there's that. You also go on to state that agricultural activity is exempt from the requirements of the local ordinance. I don't believe that this project is completely exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act. And as I recall, there's no dredging or filling of wetlands. Is that, can someone?
Buffer zones don't apply. Okay. Wetlands do apply.
Yeah, that's why I was speaking about the buffer zone specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you say here, this indicates that long-term timber management was not a priority. You're talking about preservation of the watershed, but down here you're saying that you are going to manage the wooded portions of the property for long-term benefits.
Yeah, and that could be done without touching the buffer zone still, outside of the buffer zone. I mean, clear cutting is clearly of no benefit to the watershed, especially with stormwater runoff.
Well, this says long-term benefits,
yeah.
So that would indicate to me that you were looking at managed, not clear cutting, but managed cutting.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Mike, do you want to go? Go ahead.
I have a quick question. As you're probably aware, just downstream of Sheldon Pond, there was a wetlands violation by, I guess it was Mr. Adams, the person who purchased that and was going to build some sort of a racetrack around it. Do you know if any of the repercussions of that violation affects this parcel?
That's a good question. I haven't looked at the stream, and I'd be curious to know if someone could study that and let us know, because there was major damage that was done on that property next door to it.
Go ahead, Mike.
I have a question. So you're seeking a grant, Is this the only type of grant that is available?
No, there's many grants available. I mean,
So, obviously, you're going to have opposition from the neighborhood. It's going to increase traffic, and you have some of the sites have turned very unsightly. Have you considered, like, the local farmers that we already have in Fitchburg, haying, or once or twice a year, letting them cut hay off the 12 acres? Can you still preserve the land and go a different route? I think most of your opposition is going to come from what we see in some of the community gardens. I think that's going to be a big opposition.
Yeah, I think we are sensitive to the aesthetics of the property and what it will look like as you're driving up Sheldon Road. The farmed parcels, as you might see from the maps, at least, you know, one or two of them are further off of the road. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. There's something I was going to say.
I mean, the haying.
We have local farmers that have been doing that for years.
Yes.
Sumner, Solony.
Right.
You have Hurdles doing corn. I don't know if they're still doing that. To me, that is just less of an eyesore, but yet still agricultural.
It's a different agricultural aesthetic, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's another part to this, and we're going to detail it next week at the city council meeting. There'll be a lot more detail about the farming aspects of it. And we'll address all those issues, you know.
So are you just choosing to go this way as opposed to going after the local farmer? And
I mean, the local farmer, the person who currently hays that property is on our commission.
Okay.
And they have enough hay for their operation, so it's not needed, you know.
Okay.
So
But there are
underutilized agricultural land is vulnerable to development, because if you're not using it for economic purposes, it's, you know, it's much more feasible to sell it. So that's a concern here, is that the agricultural economy in Fitchburg, it's existent, but it's not existent enough to hold back the development pressures. So we're looking to hold on to a piece of it, basically, you know.
Could you please explain what exactly you're going to City Council to request?
Right. So we've received a land grant from the state, which will cover most of the cost for the purchase of the property. And we'll be talking about some budget numbers with them and looking for them to support this.
Thank you.
I have a question following that train of thought. Who currently owns this land? And the reason I'm asking is we need to determine if there are any violations that exist on this, any wetlands violations or that are already in existence on this property.
Okay.
So who owns the land currently?
Can I follow up with you on that? I can provide that information.
Madam Chair, I have that. I can.
Okay.
The land is currently owned by a Lisa Dawson and a Laura Lee Mansour, and the mailing address is Cambridge, Massachusetts. They purchased the property for a sum of $1. I assume this was an interfamily transfer type of thing in 1988, so they've owned the property since then. Whether or not they farmed it or whatever, I don't know. But and also to that end, so now when the letter here says that you were going to acquire the property, which means that who will hold title to this? The Agricultural Commission or the city?
I mean, the city will own the property. We will oversee its use.
Okay. And so the city will own the property at full market value is what it's going for, I would assume?
Yes.
And what type of farming do you perceive to be livestock, just planting?
Vegetable production.
Okay, no livestock.
Not at this time. It's not in the talks, but
Not at this time.
Yeah.
And who is going to be responsible? Will there be another entity besides the Agricultural Commission that's involved with managing this property?
Yes, we have a memorandum of understanding with a nonprofit, at World Farmers. They're in Lancaster. So there are farmers in Fitchburg who travel to Lancaster, half an hour away. We have open space here in Fitchburg with prime agricultural land. The idea is to have them farm closer to home here on land that isn't flooded, that's upland property. And we would lease the land to a nonprofit who would coordinate this.
So then let me ask you about how do you control not just the farmland, but outbuildings that could be erected? You know, a barn is one thing, but miscellaneous kind of cobbled together outbuildings is not aesthetically pleasing.
Right, and so as a commission, we have say over that. You know, we can say, hey, the neighbors don't like this, you know, in this area. Can we move it, move it over here, you know?
Yeah, we just haven't, our focus primarily is in trying to acquire the land and preserve it. That's number one. So in terms of exactly what's going to look like and where exactly the fields are going to be located, this is all up for discussion. Any lease that we negotiate or discuss with World Farmers for the portion of the property that is going to be farmed would go before City Council, would be discussed, would be open for comment. And so a lot of these things, we just haven't gotten to that step yet. We're still in the idea phase about what we can do with this property and the benefits that we can bring. And so there's the benefits for the local agriculture, for the people who live here in Fitchburg and know how to farm and want to farm, but have to travel to do so to a property that is not really as conducive to farming as we have right here in Fitchburg. And there's benefits for educational programs, for collaborating with the school system, K through 12, the colleges, and then there's just the bare fact of conserving this large piece of property in northern Fitchburg from development. So that's why we wanted to come to you to kind of flush out and talk about the benefits of just preserving that land. So what we do with it, we're doing our best to answer questions and have good plans for that. But at this point, it's kind of early in the process. We're still trying to actually acquire the land, and we're just talking about what we can possibly do within the benefits that it can bring.
So that being said, Madam Chair, I know personally my position would be that they are in the very early stages of possibly pursuing this entity and the property. And I am not convinced that I would support the commission giving its support to this program as of yet, because there just are not enough details presented to us tonight. How it's going to be run, what's going to be there, who's going to be responsible. When you get all of that established, then come back to us and we'll see if it's something personally that I could support. I don't know how the other commissioners are, where they feel here, but.
I have a question. Does the Agricultural Commission, because I just found out about the Agricultural Commission.
This is why we're here, because we
related
feel like
to
we
this.
want to have this,
we
want to be in conversation.
Do you have regulatory authority over this property? And do you have bylaws that will tell farmers what they can do on their land and regulate it in some way?
Yes, I mean, we haven't devised a contract yet about the situation. So
in the event you do devise that you create a contract, who will be responsible for violations of that contract? And to that end, what we're asking, what the commission would like to know is, if there are violations of the Wetlands Protection Act, who do we work with on those violations? Because yes, there are. It says here, it's exempt from the requirements of the local ordinance. But there are aspects of the Wetlands Protection Act that that you're not exempt from.
I understand, yeah.
And what I'm concerned about is in the event of a violation. And there's a lot that's going to have to happen here. I personally went to agriculture school. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen here. And, I mean, beyond managing the forest land, which, I mean, you're talking about preserving land and conserving land literally in the same sentence. So that confuses me.
Well, it's working land is the idea. You know, you preserve it by utilizing it for agriculture, not for another purpose. That's my point.
Okay. Yeah. It's still confusing from that perspective.
Okay.
We've had some issues recently with logging operations and the violations that are associated with that. So who would be responsible for the violations on this property in the event that it is managed for forest land products? The farmland management.
I mean, I guess that's why we're here to...
trying to understand what you mean by farmland management, like specifically. Joyce asked, will you be livestock on the land? Because then that would need to have structures built.
Right. The interest right now is in vegetable production. That's what World Farmers focuses on.
What about infrastructure that goes along with farming?
Right.
So you're going to need a road to get the equipment in there, wells, irrigation systems.
It's all on the list. It's all on the agenda for us to pursue these things.
Okay, so those are the things that immediately impact what our jurisdiction is. And so lastly, and this is just like the ag extension in me, is you're working, I think you said, with immigrant farmers. Is that This World Farmers? Is that what that was? And like at Bolton, I think that's what they do. And I think that's, great that you're farming, that people are farming. But will there be educational activities for the farmers themselves so that they can maintain compliance with the Wetland Protection Act regulations? Once again, who do we go to if they're not?
So we're looking to partner with the Fitchburg Public Schools. They have some interest in nature programs, and also there's been some outreach from
Mount Wachusett
Community College. They have a program there.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking about is education to the farmers themselves who will be there. And, I mean, we do have some concerns about invasive species that they might be planting and what the impacts that might be. I mean, there's a lot of questions here that
I think the threat of invasives is already there, honestly. I mean, it's all throughout the city. It has to be dealt with on the site for us to start working. I don't see the farmers bringing in invasives per se. I mean, they're bringing in food to grow, to eat. So, yeah.
Is your intent to go from 12 acres to 20? So you have a 47-acre piece, you have 12 acres of field.
Yeah, we're starting with 12, and then there's wooded area, so there would have to be some clearing done in order to expand it.
So your intent is to grow the farm part and cut down the trees?
Yeah, I don't foresee more than half the site being cut down, but we're taking this a step at a time. Obviously, we need to build the existing infrastructure and the existing 12 acres to utilize before we expand further. So,
if I may, I took the liberty to go to Web Soil Survey, which is the USDA's facility that's free to look at the soil maps as they've been mapped there. And the only soils that are considered prime farmland type soils, the Paxton fine sandy loam, are in areas that are already cleared.
Yes.
I don't think you have a lot of potential to expand beyond what's already cleared. And none of those areas are in wetlands, at least as they're mapped.
Yes.
So it seems like the 12 acres that's already talked about is probably what's going to be feasible to utilize the way that you plan to.
Yeah, plus a little bit in the middle of the field, there's like a little kind of a peninsula area.
Yeah, there's an area that's mapped Ridgebury, which is poorly drained right up near the road. And in fact, that's not even shown as prime farmland.
I think we included a map of the prime farmland soils, and if you look at the map,
I'm looking at it.
yeah, so there's a section there that's wooded. Not that, like Evan is saying, we're not going into this saying we're going to, go and clear out the trees there.
No,
but
I
it's
understand.
that currently there is a fair amount of prime farmland soil there that
Chunk of
is
the property,
currently
yeah.
wooded. So I think that's what Evan is talking about.
And the point also is, there's houses being built on prime farmland. I mean, my house is on prime farmland, but, as a city, we should think about the productive use of this prime soil for the benefit of the city,
So having said what I wanted to say about the soils, I would like to comment for the benefit of the commission. Where did Joyce go? Restroom. Oh, okay. Well,
You can wait until she gets back.
I could wait until she comes back, but it's all right. I've already told her how I feel. A few years ago, we at the National River Watershed Association invited the World Farmers out of Flats Mentor Farm in Lancaster to come and speak to us about what they're doing there. And I hadn't been familiar with it, but it's a fairly large parcel along the Nashua River in Lancaster that's floodplain soils, and they have about 270 mostly immigrant farmers who work small plots to grow food for themselves and their families and for sale. They're provided training because a lot of them come from places with different kinds of growing conditions than we have here. And so the World Farmers train them to be able to grow their crops here in our climate and how to sell them. And they provide some assistance because some of these people are without means themselves. And it struck me that it was a very well-run operation. I know that they've had a very bad year, as a lot of farmers have, because they were flooded out there and they lost pretty much all of their crops to those floods this year. And that's why they have a GoFundMe that they're trying to raise money to kind of put themselves back on an even keel. But it also enlightened me to the fact that they have a couple of satellite operations, one of which is on McIntyre Road, and I think that's the one that some of you might be alluding to, having seen. It's, I believe...
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's theirs. I think that's with Tufts University, perhaps. They
is that
clarified
right?
that for us.
Yeah, it's not a World Farmers.
It's not World Farmers?
No.
Okay, I didn't know that.
No, I actually think it's, that land is being directly leased to the farmers themselves. I didn't think there was
Yeah, I'm
another
not. I know it's Don Jarco's land, but I don't know more than that. Other than I cycle past it often, and I see the people that working there, usually after work.
Yep. I have. Someone mentioned that to me, and I did check in, and it's not a World Farmers property.
Okay, thank you for that.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, anyway, I for one think it's an interesting concept, and I look forward to hearing more about it. I think it could be beneficial to us to support more places for people to grow food, because we're going to need it. You know, the climate change is going to bring a lot more migrants into this area, because it's one of the few parts of the country that's not really suffering terrible losses, though we've had our floods and droughts, but not to the extent that some other major agricultural areas in the country are. And we're going to have to learn how to grow more food locally on the land that we have.
Yep.
So I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Baker. Joyce? Commissioner Jacobs.
I just want to add, with all deference to Commissioner Baker's comments, and I'm very supportive of farmland and preservation, but I think as it relates currently to this parcel, that there's just it's in the early stages, and you cannot provide us, or at least myself, with enough information about how the program's going to be run, where, what's going to be grown, who's going to be growing it, that I do not feel that right now it's in the best interest of this commission to support that initiative, at least at this stage.
Commissioner Donnelly.
A lot of the comments I have already been addressed. Let me say, the Agricultural Commission's here for the first time in 25 years, so it's good to see you. One would think that we have similar interests in terms of open space and/or
That's why we're here, yes.
conservation of land. Right. And theirs is agricultural soils, and ours is wetlands and water quality, et cetera. So that's great. As I said, some of my questions have been answered. What's the land currently zoned?
It's rural residential.
Okay, very good. And as a matter of right, over 5 acres is agricultural as a matter of right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. It should not be overlooked that I love farmers. They're they were the backbone of the country. We are where we are because of farming, and then the Industrial Revolution. But some farming practices are in conflict with Conservation Commission interests. They just are. Water quality amongst them. If you buy the property, it's not like you're going to farm it. You're going to manage farmers.
Yes.
You're not managing the land as much as you're managing the people that are on it. Who amongst you has that management experience? I've managed residential real estate for 40 years. Anybody with a hammer and a nail and a paintbrush and a little bit of electrical and plumbing and background can do that. But the people that come and go, that rent the space, that's where the work comes in. What have you got to manage people on 12 acres and multiple tenants?
The idea is that we're managing the managers, really.
Excuse me?
We're managing the managers is what it is. That's why we're partnering with World Farmers, because we don't have the means to manage.
Yeah, we agree. There's no one on Agricultural Commission is going to be managing the individual farmers. That's why we want to partner with World Farmers.
That's why we have an intermediary. That's what the World Farmers would do. They would manage the farmers more directly, more hands-on.
Okay, so it's a not, no offense, but it's another not-for-profit in the city of Fitchburg. Your comment earlier was productive use of soils. I accept that for the benefit of the city. Show me the benefit to the city.
Fresh local food.
Excuse me?
Fresh local food. It's food security. It's also the knowledge being dispersed of people just being engaged in it, working the land and spending time doing it, you can take that knowledge anywhere throughout our community. It's good to have that knowledge.
We see the benefits as threefold. One, just the bare conservation of the land and the protection of the ecosystem. Two, that the residents of Fitchburg who currently have to farm elsewhere to grow food for themselves and their family, to increase their food security, they're doing it outside Fitchburg, they can do it in Fitchburg. And also, we're going to connect in with Growing Places, the organization Growing Places, who is currently creating a North Central Massachusetts FoodWorks project. So everything that's grown that's not consumed by the farmers and the families they have the ability to then help the farmers move that produce into distribution to be commercial farmers. And so then we're then providing that local produce to local farmers markets, local restaurants, local food banks. So that land then becomes a source of food and benefit to the residents and the businesses and the people who live in Fitchburg that we're growing the food here. And the third benefit is educational, partnering with local schools to bring agricultural education and knowledge to all levels of education. So
if we carry it forward, your not-for-profit is going to provide land for economic benefit for your tenants. They're going to sell produce, but the burden of rent and maintenance and those things that come along with ownership aren't there. It seems to me that they'd be competing with the local farmer down the street. Their interests in commerce and making money.
People who are already growing. They already have their growing businesses. It's just that their growing businesses are in Lancaster. They already live in this town, so they're not. It's the same market.
Excuse me. You're focusing on the 6 to 12 to 18 to 24, but when you build it, they will come. And I guess the question is, and I'm not. It's an environmental interest, but I got to carry it further. I guess I'm an immigrant once or twice or three times removed. Where does the word immigrant start and where does it stop? How long do you have to be here to be an immigrant? And if
the farmland would be open to all residents of Fitchburg. You don't have to. It's open to all.
Okay, I'm sorry. Lastly, long-term benefits by employing climate-smart forestry practices. There's a move afoot. There are many forestry practices, and some of them, while they may be climate-smart, they may not be Conservation Commission interests, if that's possible, because this notion that clear cutting is bad isn't true. Clear cutting can be very beneficial, and the subsequent successional forest can be very beneficial. So whoever will prepare a forestry practice, forester or whatever, it really all depends on the motive of the owner. The owner has to say, what is it I want out of my land? Prepare me a plan to get that.
Yeah, I understand.
And this Conservation Commission member is, skeptical about what kind of a plan you have for that forestry portion, not the 12-acre portion, that's all. And again, I'm glad you're here, and I think there's a common interest, but there's a real disconnect for me to manage a not-for-profit in the city of Fitchburg that has many managed not-for-profits and not necessarily in my interest, or I don't even think in the city's interest. I honestly believe that the city doesn't benefit by another not-for-profit managed program as something as beautiful as agriculture and self-sufficiency. I'm just not convinced there. So, okay.
Yeah, I hope you can come to the meeting next week, or
you bet I'll be there.
Or watch, because I'm sure I'm not saying it as eloquently as our presenters will be saying it.
So I would comment on that when you say come to the meeting next week, but yet you're here asking for us to support something that we need to wait till next week to find out what we're supporting.
We actually, forgive us if we didn't make the message clear. We just wanted to open the conversation. We wanted to hear about your concern. We wanted to introduce. We weren't actually asking for any kind of vote or
for that clarification.
We just wanted to hear. We wanted to start the conversation and just let you know what we're doing. That's all.
And like was mentioned, we should have common interests. There should be some overlap, I would think.
Well,
obviously, there's going to be difference because we're different. We have a different focus too.
Yeah.
So.
And I should clarify that they reached out to me, and I requested that this be put on the agenda tonight just for our information.
Okay.
So that's
no surprise.
I want to thank you for that clarification, because that was not the impression that I was under. And I want to welcome you to the Conservation Commission and say how exciting it is to have stakeholders involved with our work. And we look forward to collaborating with you.
And I appreciate the questions. I wrote down, things that we really couldn't answer clearly, and happy to continue the conversation.
Also, that being said, the Conservation Commission, we have worked with the local middle schools and the high school Envirothon team on educational projects, and we would be more than happy to help you. It is difficult to work with the schools. They have a lot of regulations, and getting a bus full of school kids to an event can be very difficult, especially of farmland that may not be accessible to everybody. So I'm just...
Yeah, I think there would be small groups from what we've heard.
Yeah, let's work together on that, because we have experience with that on our commission. We also have educational outreach as part of our mission. And so...
I think they'll be speaking next week. Luisa Fernandez will be saying a few words during our time that we're presenting to City Council.
That's great. Yes.
Madam Chair, there's a few people in the audience that may have something that they could take back for their presentation next week, and that we could benefit so that we can think between now and their presentation.
We have, thank you.
Well, they're here and they're anxious, and
we have two pieces of information here that were submitted by citizens. But as I look through them, nothing on here is jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission. So that's why, I mean, these will certainly be submitted into the public record and posted, but none of the comments are jurisdictional. And so I'm concerned about that, yes.
I haven't heard any of the comments. You're reading them, and if it were jurisdictional, then I'd welcome it, and if it's not, put your hand down and don't share it. But if it's jurisdictional, I'd be happy to hear it.
Does anyone have a jurisdictional question for the commission?
I do.
Go ahead.
Or at least I think I do, as far as my understanding of your jurisdiction. I'm Jessica Jacobson, and we should be looking at all the properties in Fitchburg. City of Fitchburg owns a lot of property, so I believe you would also consider costs when you're looking at land.
Ms. Jacobson, our jurisdiction is water quality and water quantity.
Right, and then that would be also the well on that, and we haven't looked at the good soil. I'm assuming good soil would be in your jurisdiction, right?
Only under wetlands.
Yes, only the soil in a wetland.
So we haven't looked at any of the properties, whether they have...
Soil stability is within our jurisdiction.
Right, good soil or water already existing. This current property does not have the water, so you would have to do the well. You'd have to do the irrigation. That would be out of our tax dollars, where we have a ton of properties that we already own that we're taking, so we're taking off a tax property to... And we haven't looked at any of those. They didn't look at any of the already owned properties. So that should be looked into. And then none of the grants are going to cover that. And then we did mention growing places and not world farmers. And I know this isn't your that's not your jurisdiction. But again, looking at the already owned city property should be considered.
Thank you, Ms.
Versus
Jacobson.
buying something that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson.
Jacqueline Wetchy, Fitchburg resident. I think the best predictor of future performance is past performance. I grew up in Lancaster. I think that World Farmers taking over that site was a mistake. Previously, the farmers were able to use the land for free thanks to a benefactress, and then this organization came in to make money off them. And they haven't managed the site well with regards to water. There was all this flooding recently, and not only did it leave the fields waterlogged, but they're reporting on their webpage that they lost all their topsoil. Why would you want an organization that didn't purchase crop insurance and that let all their topsoil go away because they didn't plan for floods, even though that area often floods, and there are many times Route 117 has been closed due to flooding in the past. Over the years, you know, I've lived there or visited family there for decades. I used to commute down that road. It's not unusual, so they're planning to partner with an organization that is ill-prepared to handle water issues. They're also saying, well, we hope we'll get a grant down the line for wells. With what cost sharing to the city? They're very vague, and it's not a good plan. It hasn't been thought out well. They should go back to the drawing board, and they should look for a different type of grant and a different type of project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to add that in their contract, they're asking for
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Jean Robbie, I live on Water Street in Fitchburg. In their contract, they're also asking for a 99-year signature so that your hands will be tied for 99 years. So I just want to point that out, that I believe that is in their contract.
We don't have a contract. A lot of this stuff is speculation and.
And only 1/4 of the property
Will be used for non-immigrants.
that is what we get to use. And then we're regulated on that. So please read the contract that they have, the papers that they have presented to you, because it doesn't benefit Fitchburg at all.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you. It's been a pleasure to have members of the Agricultural Commission here with us today.
Thank you.
And please let Herlin know, and we'd be happy to sit down and talk about some strategies.
Okay.
Because I think we could probably work together on some of these
That sounds great, yeah.
educational aspects.
We'd love to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to, what's next? Oh, here, these are for the
Yes, for the record.
Next, we need to select a vice chair. With the, when Brian left, he was vice chair, and we've been without a vice chair.
Move to nominate Joyce Jacobs.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Gee, thanks.
I'm going to call the roll. All in favor, Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye, aye, aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Abstain.
Commissioner Tantinowat,
Aye.
Yes, I'm not voting for
Commissioner
myself.
Serfield, aye. So the motion passes. I'm going to remind everyone on the commission, yes,
Thank you.
that the vice chair is the, does run the committee, the Violation and Enforcement Orders Committee, as we voted, as we approved and ratified years ago. And so, thank you, Joyce.
Where's that committee been languishing?
Well, that's going to be the first project, is we're going to implement that again so that we can deal with
Just as a
violations.
reminder, that committee was made up of 3 people.
Years ago.
And that was not a set committee because we were concerned about anyone being in a butter to a project and having to, that committee was developed to be fluid in case anybody was in a butter to a project, then we could have someone else step in. So,
Brian. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
everyone, Joyce. Yes.
We're going to institute
Okay,
that again.
next we have on our agenda the Conservation Agent Authorization. And I'm going to let, do you want to talk about that at all? Or this is just something that we need to do to authorize, the commission needs to authorize Herlin as our agent.
Move to authorize Herlin as our agent.
Mark has
it's the other section.
Motion to appoint Herlin as the Fitchburg Conservation Agent.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have a unanimous aye. No, Herlin, you're amazing. Okay, you're really doing a wonderful job. Yes.
Let the
All
commission
expectations.
recognize all that has taken place since she's assumed that role and appointed that role, how much we've accomplished. I recognize it by virtue of past practice.
And so moving on, we have a commission signature authorization. And
that is for virtual signatures at the recommendation of Mass DEP. Sometimes when commissioners are not in person and cannot sign, I can send you a link for a virtual signature, and that way that doesn't delay order of conditions, the processing of order of conditions, certificate of compliances, and so on. So there's a motion on the table from Mr. Christian, if he wants to go ahead and read it.
So the Fitchburg Conservation Commission hereby recognizes and accepts provisions of Mass General Law 110G regarding electronic signatures, and its members will henceforth execute documents either with electronic signatures or with wet ink signatures, and both will carry the same legal weight. I worked hard on that.
Is that a motion?
That's a
Yes, it
motion,
is.
Second.
yes.
Second.
okay.
You didn't do that, your wife did it.
How'd I do it? Huh?
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. So thank you, Herlin, once again. And then we have one matter of correspondence. On an exciting note, Dr. Baker has tendered his resignation with the commission, and I'll let you, would you like to talk about it, or do you want me to go
Sure,
through
just
it?
in brief.
Okay.
Next week, I'm going to become the president of the board of the National River Watershed Association, on whose board I've served now for 17 years.
That's good.
And so, thank you. Appreciate it. And we hope to continue to work together with the Fitchburg Conservation Commission and the city of Fitchburg in total, which we're already doing in a lot of ways. But I realize something has to give, and I've decided I can't put as much effort into this commission as I would like. But that said, I've learned a lot from my 5 years. I never thought it would be 5 years, but it has been. And I've learned a lot about this city. So no regrets. And anyway, this will be my last meeting.
I think the commission would agree that we can thank Dr. Baker for his commitment to public service and commitment to the natural resources of Fitchburg. You have been instrumental in a number of projects, Ralph, and it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How does a guy go 5 years without playing around?
Not much of a drinker, Mike.
I said buy around, I didn't say drink it.
When, Dr. Baker, when is it that you're being appointed the chair?
It's actually on the 9th.
November 9th?
A week from tomorrow night, we're going to be having our annual meeting at the Fay Club here in Fitchburg, and that's where it's all going to happen. All of you are invited if you'd like to come.
Do we have to pre-register?
Yeah, there is. I can send you the.
Please.
Yes.
Sure.
I registered. It was very easy to register. And yeah, I recommend. And you can get a nice dinner ahead of time.
You could, yeah. We'll be serving just dessert there.
Yeah. No, it's very exciting. I think it's very exciting. And
Thank you. Appreciate it.
a testament to the diversity of our board, our commission.
There are also minutes on the agenda.
Yes, okay. I just wanted to.
Thank you for your volunteer effort all this time.
And Dr. Baker came to us at he spoke to me at one of our educational outreach programs. I think it was the Asian longhorn beetle.
I think it was
Was it?
David Valley
Oh.
presentation at Fitchburg State where I first talked to you.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Anyway,
Okay. Was
doesn't
it
matter.
David Valley? Oh. Well, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But,
Another time.
Yes. And Dr. Baker graciously offered to serve as an associate commissioner for a long time until we had an opening. And his comments were always spot on and extremely helpful.
Appreciate it. Thank
Yes. So moving on, we've got. We have the minutes of the January 4th, 2023 regular meeting.
you. We accept those minutes.
I have a correction.
Okay.
Excuse me, Ralph, I just want to make sure. On the very last, page 4, Herlin, On page 4 of the minutes, there was a discussion on Mad River Solar. That's covering a discussion of Mad River Solar where it notes on page 3 that I stepped away due to conflict of interest. However, when the vote was taken on the special condition, it has me listed as voting aye in there, and that needs to come out.
We will correct that.
Okay. Everything else, I'm fine.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table.
Second?
All right, all in favor to accept the minutes of the January 4th, 2023 meeting with Commissioner Jacobs' addition, Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat?
Am I abstained if I wasn't there?
That's fine. You're okay. Thank you. And Commissioner Satterfield, aye. And now we have the
Minutes for the site walk
special,
for
the
January,
minutes
yeah.
to the January 14th, 2023 site walk.
Motion to accept as presented.
Second.
Okay, and we have Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Commissioner Tantinarwat,
Abstained again.
okay, Commissioner Satterfield, aye. And I think
I wanted to briefly note that I was sitting in my car in the parking lot. I see that Nick Erickson is still online. I was sitting in my car in the lower lot of the City Hall parking lot, and a spotted lantern landed on my windshield. I'm not sure. I took a picture of it. You can see the spots on the... I know that there was some remediation done. Liz had said on the other side of DPW, but I'm not sure if it's just, you know, it's just is what it is, or if...
Let the person from the Department of Agriculture know, because I think they're the ones that have come here
Yes.
to remove those, the nests and so forth.
Okay. I wasn't sure where the nest would, it just landed on my car windshield. I don't know where it came from, but maybe they can, I don't know, walk the area and see if they can find something.
Clearly, they haven't gotten rid of it yet.
Yes. Yeah.
maybe we can talk about the regional outreach.
Did you whack it?
Yes. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
You know, just like we did with the Longhorn beetles.
Yes.
Okay, and can I have a motion and second to adjourn the regular meeting of the November 1st, 2023?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.